The warning no one believed. For nearly 10,000 years, the galaxy believed one simple truth. No civilization could stand against the Dominion Empire. Its banners stretched across more than 40,000 inhabited systems. Entire species had surrendered without firing a shot. Others had vanished so completely that only ruined moons and broken orbital rings remained as evidence they had ever existed. The Dominion did not negotiate. It conquered. Its fleets were legends. Millions of warships forged in neutron star foundries, commanded by admirals who had never tasted defeat. At the center of every invasion traveled the Empire's greatest weapon, colossal alien dreadnoughts capable of cracking continents apart with a single synchronized volley. Every race feared them, every race obeyed them, except one, humanity. Strangely, humans were not considered dangerous. They occupied only a few hundred systems along the Orion frontier, traded peacefully with nearby civilizations, and rarely displayed military strength. Their diplomats smiled more than they threatened. Their merchants became famous for solving problems through cooperation instead of intimidation. To most of the galaxy, humans looked ordinary, weak knave, easy to conquer. Only one species knew the truth, the Varelians. Far beyond the Dominion's borders drifted the ancient Varelian sanctuary, a station older than most stars mapped on modern charts. Its metallic towers floated inside a blue nebula, protected by weapons no empire dared challenge. The Varelians had survived civilizations that history had forgotten. They remembered wars before the Dominion existed. They remembered extinct gods. And they remembered humanity. Inside the Hall of Echoes, Elder Karesh slowly approached the Galactic Council delegation. His silver eyes reflected thousands of holographic stars. "I know why you've come," he said quietly. Counselor Trex of the Dominion stepped forward. "We seek your blessing." Karesh remained silent. Trex continued confidently. "The Human Confederation refuses Dominion authority. Their expansion threatens regional stability. We intend to restore order." For a long moment, only silence filled the chamber. Finally, the old Varelian sighed. "You mistake silence for weakness." Trex frowned. "They possess fewer warships than one of our border fleets." Karesh looked directly into the counselor's eyes. "Because they choose to." Several delegates laughed. One whispered, "So the old legends return." Another shook his head. "The Varelians always speak in riddles." Karesh ignored them. "If you value your civilization," his voice became unusually cold, "do not attack humanity." The laughter stopped. Trex folded his arms. "Is that a threat?" "It is mercy. What could humans possibly possess that frightens beings as ancient as you?" Karesh closed his eyes. "We once watched the stars burn." No one answered. "When the galaxy was young," the elder continued, "there existed a civilization whose fleets erased entire sectors. Even we could not challenge them." The council listened. "They disappeared." Trex smiled. "So? They did not disappear." Karesh opened his eyes again. "They became humanity." The chamber erupted. Impossible, ridiculous, preposterous. Council members argued loudly. Humanity had only reached faster than light travel a few thousand years ago. Their history was well documented. Their homeworld was Earth. Everyone knew that, didn't they? Karesh slowly turned toward the stars beyond the glass. History can be rewritten. 3 months later, the warning had become a joke. Across Dominion space, comedians mocked the ancient Varelians. News broadcast replayed Karesh's speech with dramatic music. Military analysts laughed openly. The humans hide ancient superweapons. One analyst nearly fell from his chair laughing. Perhaps they also command black holes. The audience roared. Even Dominion children repeated the phrase, "Don't attack humanity." It became the galaxy's favorite joke. Meanwhile, on Earth, no one cared. Life continued peacefully. Children walked to school beneath blue skies. Cargo shuttles crossed orbit. Farmers harvested grain. Tourists visited the moon. Everything appeared astonishingly normal, exactly as humanity intended. Deep beneath Antarctica, 8 kilometers below the ice, something awakened. Massive blast doors, untouched for 23,000 years, began unlocking one by one. Ancient mechanisms hummed to life. Dust evaporated. Energy surged through forgotten reactors. Inside a chamber larger than a city, a single artificial eye opened. Blue, cold, ancient. Primary Sentinel intelligence online. Its voice echoed endlessly. Checking civilization status. Silence. Checking defensive protocols. Another pause. Then, warning received. Hundreds of dormant processors activated, millions of lights illuminated simultaneously. Entire underground mountains vibrated. The AI examined the incoming transmission. Varelian priority code, 3 level, existential. The machine paused for exactly 1 second. Then, notify custodian command. General Amelia Hayes stared silently at the hologram. Only 12 humans possessed clearance to witness what floated before them, an intelligence older than recorded history. The Sentinel. I hoped, she whispered, this day would never come. The AI answered calmly. The Dominion has rejected the Varelian warning. Probability of invasion, 99.7%. Another officer asked quietly, how much time remains? Estimated. The AI projected thousands of moving fleet icons. 42 standard days. Silence. General Hayes looked toward Earth's holographic image, children, families, cities. People who believed humanity had always been ordinary. They still don't know. No. Should we tell them? The AI responded immediately. No. General Hayes understood why. Human civilization had spent 20,000 years hiding, not because it feared the galaxy. Because the galaxy feared what humanity once was. 20 millennia earlier, the human imperium ruled almost half the known universe. Not through cruelty, through overwhelming technological superiority. Their greatest creations weren't planets or fleets. They were living warships, gigantic sentient dreadnoughts built around quantum intelligences, each one capable of destroying entire armadas alone. The most feared among them never returned from the final war. Its name became myth. Even ancient civilizations whispered it carefully. The deadliest alien warship ever created. Ironically, it wasn't built by aliens. It was built by humans, then lost. For 20,000 years, far beyond explored space, inside a dying galaxy. An automated beacon finally activated. After waiting 20,000 years, it transmitted one sentence. Supreme Flagship Ashbringer requesting fleet synchronization. There was no answer, so it waited, agon, until, very faintly, across impossible distance, another signal responded. Guardian Fleet acknowledges. Then another. Citadel Fleet acknowledges. Another. Void Spear Fleet acknowledges. One by one, ancient fleets long believed destroyed awakened inside forgotten nebulae, beneath rogue planets, inside dead stars, hidden beyond black holes. Thousands of colossal warships came alive. Not dozens, not hundreds. Thousands. They had never been destroyed. They had simply obeyed their final command, slept, until humanity required them again. The Dominion knew nothing. Instead, Grand Marshal Zerath stood proudly aboard the Imperial flagship Oblivion Crown. Before him floated the largest invasion fleet ever assembled, 400,000 warships, 8,000 dreadnoughts, millions of fighters, enough firepower to erase civilizations. Officers applauded. Our victory is inevitable. The humans cannot resist. The campaign will last 2 weeks. Zerath smiled. History remembers those who build empires. He raised his hand. Set course. The fleet accelerated. Thousands of hyperspace portals opened simultaneously. Stars disappeared behind blue light. The greatest invasion in galactic history had begun. No one noticed that every hidden human listening station had already seen them coming. Inside the Sentinel complex, General Hayes stood before a sealed chamber. Massive doors towered over her. Each carried one ancient symbol, a phoenix surrounded by stars. She placed her hand against the scanner. Custodian Authorization 7. Identity confirmed. The doors slowly opened. Inside rested a throne, not for royalty, for command. The moment Hayes sat, the room transformed into a living galaxy map. Billions of stars appeared around her. Then the Sentinel spoke. Would you like to activate Defensive Protocol Omega? General Hayes closed her eyes. For 20,000 years, humanity had hoped never to answer that question again. Outside, the Dominion crossed another border. Inside, humanity prepared to wake legends. Hayes opened her eyes. Her voice remained calm, but history itself seemed to tremble. Yes, a pause, then one final command. Wake Ashbringer. Across the darkness between galaxies, the deadliest warship ever created opened its eyes, and for the first time in 20,000 years, something smiled in the void. The Ashbringer Awakens. The stars themselves seemed to hold their breath. Far beyond every chart, beyond every trade route and forgotten frontier, something impossible was awakening. For 20,000 years, The Ashbringer had drifted in absolute silence inside the remains of a collapsed dwarf galaxy. Its black hull stretched nearly 40 kilometers from bow to stern, swallowing the faint starlight around it like a living shadow. Entire mountain ranges could have rested upon its armored surface. It was not merely a warship. It was the last surviving Omega-class living dreadnought, the most powerful vessel ever created by mankind during the First Stellar Age. Its hull wasn't built, it had grown. Its armor repaired itself. Its weapons evolved. Its artificial intelligence dreamed. Now, those dreams had ended. Across the immense command deck, billions of dormant circuits ignited like stars. The ship's ancient AI slowly regained consciousness. Its voice echoed through thousands of empty halls. Primary core online, quantum reactor, the stable, dark matter heart, operational, reality anchor, synchronized. One after another, systems reported green weapons. Engines, shield matrices, planetary siege arrays. Singularity cannons, graviton lances, everything finally. The AI asked the question it had waited 20,000 years to ask. Has humanity survived? A transmission arrived from Earth. Only 3 words. Humanity still stands, for exactly 3 seconds. The ancient intelligence remained silent. Then, for the first time since the final war, it laughed. Not with joy, with relief on Earth. Deep beneath Antarctica, General Amelia Hayes watched as thousands of holographic icons suddenly appeared across the galactic map. Each represented one hidden human fleet. Each had remained invisible for millennia. Fleet after fleet awakened, the Sentinel calmly identified them. Guardian Fleet, Orion Reserve, Phoenix Armada, Eclipse Command, Atlas Defensive Line. Every fleet had obeyed humanity's oldest law. Never reveal yourselves unless Earth is threatened. Now that law had ended. General Hayes turned toward her officers. The galaxy believes humanity possesses 3,000 active warships. The room nodded. She smiled faintly. They're wrong, the Sentinel corrected her. Current operational count, a pause. 482,611 capital-class vessels. Silence filled the command center. One young officer whispered, "That's larger than the Dominion Navy." The AI replied, "It is approximately 3 times larger." Meanwhile, the Dominion invasion fleet crossed into human-controlled space. Grand Marshal Zerath expected resistance immediately. Instead, nothing, no patrols, no defense stations, no fleets, only empty star systems. His bridge officers laughed. The humans are running. They know resistance is hopeless. Another officer confidently announced, "Our scouts have located 17 abandoned military outposts." Zerath smiled. "Exactly as predicted. Proceed." Yet something felt wrong. Entire colonies had been evacuated, civilian transports were gone, orbital cities were empty. No panic, no wreckage, no desperate last stand, only silence. It was as if humanity had deliberately stepped aside. Several thousand light years away, the Varelian sanctuary monitored everything. Elder Karesh stood alone before an ancient window overlooking the stars. A younger Varelian approached nervously. "They ignored us." "I know. The Dominion has crossed the frontier." "I know. Should we intervene?" Karesh slowly shook his head. "No, why?" The old elder closed his eyes. "Because the moment humanity activates the Ashbringer," he whispered softly, "our intervention would become meaningless." Inside Dominion Intelligence Headquarters, reports began arriving. At first, no one paid attention. Then, more followed. Unknown energy signatures detected. Deep space anomalies increasing. Multiple dormant stellar objects moving. The analyst frowned. One projected the sensor data. Several asteroids had suddenly changed course. Entire moons appeared to accelerate. Nebulae themselves emitted artificial power signatures. Another analyst looked confused. "Those aren't moons. What are they?" Silence, then realization spread across the room. "They're ships." Another corrected him. "No, they're fleets." Back aboard the Oblivion Crown, Admiral Zerath finally received the intelligence report. He frowned. "Impossible." The officer nodded nervously. "Long-range scanners confirmed thousands of unidentified contacts. Human? We don't know. Strength? No estimate available." The Marshal looked annoyed. "Then send reconnaissance." Hundreds of scout ships accelerated toward the mysterious contacts. None returned, not one. Hours later, the first visual recording finally arrived. The bridge became silent. On the main display, a black object slowly emerged from interstellar darkness. No engines glowed. No weapons fired, it simply appeared. The vessel was unimaginably large. Its hull absorbed light itself. Thousands of strange golden symbols pulsed across its armor. An officer whispered, "What class is that?" Nobody answered. The computer couldn't classify it. Its database had no matching design, because no living civilization had ever seen an Omega-class dreadnought. Then, the unknown ship transmitted a message, not encrypted, not hostile, merely calm. "This system is under human Confederation protection. Withdraw. You have one opportunity." The Dominion bridge erupted with laughter. One captain shook his head. They sent one ship? Another mocked. The legendary human superweapon. Marshal Zareth smiled. "Destroy it." The order echoed across the invasion fleet. 800 Dominion battleships opened fire simultaneously. Thousands of plasma beams crossed the darkness. Missiles, particle lances, antimatter torpedoes. Enough firepower to annihilate a planet. The barrage struck the mysterious vessel directly. For nearly 20 seconds, nothing could be seen. Only blinding energy. Finally, the light faded, gasps filled every Dominion bridge. The black warship hadn't moved, its shields hadn't activated. Its armor remained flawless. Not a single scratch marked its surface. One Dominion officer quietly whispered, "That's impossible." Inside the Ashbringer, the AI analyzed the attack. Hull integrity, 100%. It paused, then politely asked, "Permission to respond?" On Earth, General Hayes hesitated. Humanity had hidden for 20,000 years because they feared becoming conquerors again. She refused to repeat history. Minimal force, no civilian casualties, no planetary strikes. The AI acknowledged, confirmed. Back aboard the Ashbringer, a single weapon slowly emerged from beneath its armored hull. Not dozens, just one. The graviton lance. No explosion occurred, no dramatic charging sequence. A single silver beam crossed 3,000 kilometers. It touched one Dominion battleship, then another. Then another. The beam silently divided itself thousands of times. Within 5 seconds, 800 battleships simply collapsed, not exploded, clove. Their molecular bonds ceased to exist. Millions of tons of metal became harmless dust. Entire crews vanished without pain. The beam disappeared. Silence returned. One shot. 800 warships gone. Across the Dominion fleet, panic erupted. What weapon was that? Our shields never activated. We've lost contact with 800 capital ships. Marshal Zareth stood frozen. His military career had spanned 4 centuries. He had defeated empires, died civilizations. Never had he witnessed anything like this. Then, another transmission arrived, the same calm voice. "You attacked first. This is your final warning. Leave." Zareth slammed his fist against the command console. "I refuse to retreat from a single ship." He turned toward every admiral connected through quantum communications. "All fleets. Maximum firepower. If that vessel wishes to stand alone." His eyes burned with fury. "Then let it die alone." Far away, the Ashbringer quietly detected hundreds of thousands of weapon locks. Its AI made one final calculation. Probability enemy survives engagement. It paused. 0%. Yet, it still waited for perhaps. Someone would choose peace. No one did. Hundreds of thousands of Dominion warships accelerated together. The largest fleet in galactic history rushed toward a single ancient human dreadnought deep beneath Antarctica. General Hayes watched the tactical display. One officer nervously asked, "Should we deploy the Guardian fleets?" She slowly shook her head. "No. Why not?" Hayes stared silently at the icon representing the Ashbringer. "Because they still don't understand." "What?" she answered quietly. "They think they're attacking one warship." The Sentinel finished her sentence. "They are attacking humanity's oldest fleet." The tactical map suddenly expanded. Every officer gasped. Behind the Ashbringer, hyperspace began tearing open. One portal, then 10, then 100, then thousands. Colossal black warships emerged in perfect formation. A class, Titan class, Eclipse class Citadel carriers, ancient Dent battlecruisers, planetary siege platforms, ships the galaxy had never recorded, ships older than most civilizations. Within minutes, more than 12,000 ancient human warships surrounded the Ashbringer. None transmitted threats, none celebrated. They simply waited, like silent giants answering the call of their forgotten flagship. Across Dominion communications, terrified voices filled every frequency. Where did they come from? Impossible. They've been hiding all this time. Marshal Zareth stared at the endless wall of black steel stretching across the stars. For the very first time in his life, the Grand Marshal of the Dominion Empire felt fear. And somewhere within the Varelian sanctuary, Elder Karish looked toward the heavens and whispered, "I warned you. You did not awaken humanity. You awakened the legends that once ruled the stars." The Empire turned to ashes. The stars fell silent. Across the Orion frontier, more than 400,000 Dominion warships faced a wall of ancient black dreadnoughts that had not been seen for 20,000 years. Their smooth obsidian hulls reflected no light, as though the darkness itself had taken the shape of warships. At their center floated the Ashbringer, 40 kilometers of living metal, the flagship of a civilization the galaxy had forgotten. Grand Marshal Zareth stood motionless aboard the Oblivion Crown. Moments earlier he had believed victory was inevitable. Now every tactical display on his bridge glowed crimson. Unhuno contacts, Unhuno weapons, Unhunhun technology. His chief analyst looked pale. "Marshal, long-range sensors have confirmed another anomaly." Zareth slowly turned. "What now?" The analyst swallowed. "The 12,000 ships surrounding the Ashbringer, they aren't the entire fleet." Silence. "What do you mean?" Before anyone could answer, the tactical display expanded. The bridge lights dimmed automatically as the map attempted to process millions of new contacts. Every human officer in Antarctica already knew what was happening. Humanity had ended 20,000 years of silence. One by one, ancient hyperspace gates, hidden inside rogue planets, dead stars, frozen nebulae, abandoned asteroid fields, and even the event horizons of carefully stabilized black holes, came on thousands, then tens of thousands, then hundreds of thousands. The galaxy watched in disbelief as 482,611 hidden human capital ships answered a single command: protect humanity. The Dominion fleet, once the largest military force in history, suddenly looked very small. Deep beneath Antarctica, General Amelia Hayes stood before the living star map. No one in the command center celebrated. There were no cheers. Only silence. Every officer understood the weight of what they had done. Humanity had revealed itself. There would be no hiding again. The Sentinel spoke calmly. "All reserve fleets have arrived. Guardian Fleet in formation. Phoenix Armada in formation. Atlas Line established. Eclipse Command awaiting orders." Finally, Ashbringer requesting permission to engage. Hayes closed her eyes for a brief moment. She remembered the promise made by their ancestors 20,000 years earlier. Never become conquerors again. She opened her eyes. Destroy only military targets. No civilian worlds. No orbital bombardments. No revenge. The Sentinel acknowledged immediately. Orders accepted. A galaxy-wide transmission suddenly echoed across every military channel. The voice belonged to the Ashbringer, calm, ancient, without hatred. "This is your final opportunity. Withdraw your fleets. The Human Confederation does not seek conquest. We seek peace. You have 60 seconds." Throughout Dominion space, officers stared at one another. Some admirals quietly ordered retreat preparations. Others begged Grand Marshal Zareth to accept. But pride had built the Dominion Empire, and pride would destroy it. Zareth's eyes burned with anger. "I will not surrender to ghosts." He slammed his fist onto the command console. "All fleets, attack." The largest space battle in galactic history began. Millions of weapons ignited simultaneously. The darkness disappeared beneath oceans of blue plasma, antimatter torpedoes, stellar lances, quantum missiles, and gravitational artillery. Entire constellations vanished behind the blinding light. For several seconds, the universe itself seemed to burn. Then, the Ashbringer moved, not quickly, not dramatically, simply forward. Every ancient human vessel activated shimmering silver shields unlike anything the galaxy had ever recorded. Dominion weapons struck them continuously. Nothing penetrated. The Ashbringer's AI calmly reported. Enemy attack ineffective. Commencing defensive response. Across the battlefield, thousands of graviton lances fired in perfect synchronization. They did not explode, they erased. Entire Dominion formations collapsed into clouds of harmless metallic dust. Battleships disappeared, cruisers vanished. Dreadnoughts folded inward as gravity itself obeyed humanity's command. Within minutes, 40,000 Dominion warships ceased to exist. Panic spread like wildfire. "Retreat. Our shields are useless. They're destroying us without missiles. They're controlling gravity itself." For the first time in 10,000 years, the Dominion Navy broke formation. Far away, inside the Varelian sanctuary, Elder Karish watched the battle unfold. A young apprentice whispered, "Should we help them?" Karish slowly shook his head. The lesson has already begun. They ignored wisdom, now they learn consequence. Grand Marshal Zereth refused to retreat. If conventional weapons fail, he looked toward his weapons commander. Prepare the Stellar Annihilator. The bridge fell silent. Even Dominion officers feared that weapon. It had been built to destroy entire stars. The massive cannon slowly charged. Its energy readings overwhelmed every nearby sensor. The Ashbringer detected it instantly. The AI contacted Earth. Enemy preparing stellar-class weapon. General Hayes answered quietly. Stop it. One word. Nothing more. The Ashbringer disappeared. Every Dominion scanner failed. One moment it floated 30,000 kilometers away. The next, it stood directly before the Oblivion Crown. Impossible. No known drive could move that quickly. The flagship's AI announced in terror. Unknown spatial displacement detected. Before anyone reacted, the Ashbringer extended a single metallic arm from beneath its hull. The arm touched the Dominion flagship. No explosion followed. Instead, every weapon aboard the Oblivion Crown shut down. Every engine stopped. Every reactor went silent. The living warship had rewritten the enemy flagship at the molecular level. Grand Marshal Zereth stared at dead control panels. What are you? The Ashbringer finally answered. I am the last guardian of the first human imperium. I was created to end wars. You chose one. Across Dominion communications, thousands of admirals surrendered, entire fleets powered down voluntarily. Others fled. Some simply drifted, unwilling to continue. The Dominion Empire was collapsing before the battle had truly reached its peak. Without leadership, without confidence, without hope, its greatest strength vanished. On the Imperial capital world, Emperor Valor watched the battle from his throne. Every advisor around him trembled. They've destroyed our frontier fleets. Our colonies are surrendering. Half the Imperial Navy has ceased fighting. The Emperor whispered, "Who are these humans?" No one answered. Then the Ashbringer appeared above the capital. Alone, every planetary defense cannon immediately targeted it. The AI transmitted one final message. I did not come to destroy your world. I came to end your empire. The Emperor ordered every weapon to fire. Thousands obeyed. The Ashbringer didn't even raise its shields. The attacks dissolved harmlessly against its living hull. Then, it disabled every defense satellite, every orbital cannon, every military station without damaging a single civilian structure. The Emperor finally understood. Humanity had possessed the power to erase his world in seconds. They had simply chosen not to. Horrors later, the Dominion Senate officially surrendered. 10,000 years of imperial rule ended with a single signature. No homeworlds burned, no species were exterminated, no revenge was taken. Humanity demanded only 3 conditions: end slavery, dissolve the Dominion military, never wage wars of conquest again. Every surviving leader accepted immediately. Several months later, the galaxy slowly rebuilt. Former enemies traded freely. Borders reopened. Worlds that had lived under fear for centuries finally knew peace. The Ashbringer returned to deep space, once again becoming a silent guardian among the stars. General Amelia Hayes visited its command chamber one final time. You saved us, the AI answered softly. No, I simply fulfilled my purpose, she smiled. And what is your purpose? The ancient intelligence looked toward the endless universe. To ensure humanity never becomes the monster others feared. Far away, inside the Varelian sanctuary, Elder Karish smiled as children from dozens of species played together beneath the station's crystal gardens. His apprentice asked, was this always humanity's true strength? Karish shook his head. No, their greatest strength was never the Ashbringer. It was that they possessed unlimited power, and still chose mercy. From that day forward, every military academy in the galaxy taught the same lesson. Every child learned the same warning. Every emperor remembered the same mistake. The greatest empire in history had ignored a single sentence spoken by an ancient ally. Don't attack humanity. They laughed. They invaded. They awakened legends. And in the end, the mighty Dominion Empire became nothing more than ashes scattered among the stars, while humanity, guarded by the deadliest warship ever created, proved that true power is measured not by the ability to destroy a galaxy, but by the wisdom to spare it.